Welcome back to another fun-filled show. I'm your host. He is Blanchard, aka Free Blanche, aka Blanstradamus, aka Blanchy Kruger. And today's title is The Prison of the False. The premise of the prison of the false premise. So most of what people are arguing today about is built on a false premise. So it doesn't matter what the conclusion is going to be, it's going to be wrong because it's built on a false premise. So, for example, they'll say that America is racist. So, all of the arguments are about America being racist. It's a false premise, though. That's where all the arguments start. So, the person's either defending that argument or the person is trying to prove that that isn't true. But at the beginning of the conversation, the premise was false. America's not racist. So this should be wiped off the table. But once you start arguing about a false premise, it doesn't matter what solution you come up with, you're going to end up with death, destruction, and damnation because it's built on a lie. So let's say, for instance, they say the trans people are being disproportionately killed. It's not true. But the argument is that trans people are being disproportionately murdered. And so folks will say, well, the numbers aren't that high. Folks will say that it's a national emergency, but at the end of the day, it's a false premise. It's not true. So what we're doing is we're arguing over a lie. Moni just said it, they make stuff up. Like we're arguing over made up stuff. It's the truth. And so it doesn't even matter the outcome of the argument because it's based on a false premise. Let me start with this video. Hold on 1 second. Let me do this real quick. Let me share the screen real quick. What's up, you all? Let me say what's up to y'all real quick. What's up, Pamela? What's up, Tierra? What's up, Cloud Bops? What's up, Paul? What's up, Edom Nam, L? What's up, Nikki? What's up, Moni? What's up, Talk Hurt? What's up, Vintage Goods Willie? Are you being meta? I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Am I being meta? I don't know what that means. Can you elaborate on that? But my point is that 99% of what we're arguing over is from a false premise because the enemy is clever. So the reason why there's never any real solutions is because the premise is false. That's why today's title is The Prison of the False Premise, because the premise is false. It's a false premise. So it doesn't matter what the outcome is. It'll never be an outcome because it's based on a lie. So if America is not racist, you can't even have that conversation. Think about what it does for the political landscape and the social climate of America if America's not racist and it's established. America's not racist. Think about how much changes off of one simple premise that's true. America's not racist. It changes the entire landscape of the nation and actually the world. Black people are oppressed. False premise. If that's taken off the table, it changes the entire discussion. So what I'm saying is that we're wasting time arguing over a false premise. Goodness, I seen somebody get murked. I was going to do a video about free speech. I did it, but I didn't I didn't post it. I'm going to redo it and post it again though. But I've come to the conclusion that most people don't believe in free speech. They just don't have the power to silence people. Most people don't believe in free speech. They just don't have the power to silence. If they had the power to silence, a bunch of folks wouldn't be able to talk. Most folks don't believe in free speech. They don't. If they could, they would hit the mute button on a lot of people and wouldn't think anything about it. Oh, so I guess I'm black on black on black. Like am I saying I'm black on black on, I'm black background, black chair, black hoodie, formerly known as a black man? It's a false premise though. I just, you know what? I watched some videos. I watched some videos from a lady was speaking from, or she was like reading from Vanity, Denise Matthews reading from her diary. And the things that Vanity said about Prince would blow your mind. It changes the entire way. And again, what I'm saying, it's a false premise. These people are presented to us with a false premise. So Prince always gets praised as one of the good guys, but in actuality, he wasn't. He was abusive towards women. He was a womanizer. He was manipulative. He was a narcissist. Do you know that he signed Vanity to a 7-year deal, paying her $250 a week? Listen to what I'm telling you. He signed this woman and all of the people that was with him. Keep in mind, Vanity said when she went to his house to live with him, there was already women there he was already sleeping with. So what Prince would do is he would have women that he liked and move them in, just like a pimp would do. And he was actually called a pimp. That's how he operated. He didn't want to pay his band members. Like the stuff she told about Prince, it changes your entire outlook on who he was as a person. Because he gets praised for being this moral guy. This guy had all the sense when he speaks. People should listen, but he was horrible behind the scenes. Horrible. Terrible. But she said he signed her to a 7-year deal, paying her $250 a week, and then had the audacity to put slave on his face when he said the record company was holding him hostage. The same thing he was complaining to the record company about, he was doing to all of his artists. Morris Day and the Times, the Revolution. He was doing what he was claiming they were doing. He was doing it to all of his artists. All of them. Just like a pimp would do. You know, a pimp. So what a pimp would do is he'll get a young lady and teach her the game. And when she go out there, she turns a trick. When she comes back to him, she gives him all the money. Because the pimp knows if I give her some money, she's going to lose her mind. Because money is access. Remember this, people. Money is access. This is why they want to control how much money people make. They call it a free market, but it's really not. This is why they want to control how much money people make, because money is access to everything, good and bad. So what a pimp would do, he'll take all the money. Now listen, he'll buy her some shoes, some clothes, purse, take her out every now and then, but he ain't giving her no money. He won't give her any money because money is access. And the more access she has to the world, the less she gonna listen to him. And so Prince was running his whole empire like a pimp. He wasn't paying them, beating on the women, womanized. It was crazy. Listen, her diary was crazy. And the crazy part is she didn't even, now listen, Prince is a phenomenal artist. And this is why I tell people that we have to be like God and that we aren't respecters of person. I respect Prince for his artistry, his music. That's where I stop. I like Marvin Gaye for his music. That's where I stop. I like artists for their music, but that's where I stop. Because the moment you started putting expectations on these artists, to meet moral people, you're going to be disappointed. I'm not saying that he didn't change his life. I'm just saying how he was running that empire when Vanity was there. It was horrific. One girl, and what he would do is he would sign people and not put them out. If you go look at Vanity 6, the other little light skin, he was messing with all the women, but it was Vanity was his girlfriend, and the other girl in the group was his girlfriend as well. But my point is that Prince, our idolizing of Prince is from a false premise. Because if Prince was living today and he got exposed, y'all would be calling him Puffy. So my point is that if we just take a step back and look, it's all off of a false premise. It is. The stuff we're arguing and what we're looking at, what we like, it's off a false premise. It's an illusion. And I go back to this and I say, the book is called Don't Blame It on Vanity, but it's hard to find. I saw one copy on Amazon for $4,000. I tried to buy it on Kindle, but I couldn't get it on Kindle on Amazon. They had it up, but I couldn't download it. I think it's one on eBay for a couple of $1,000, but she didn't actually put the crazy thing about Vanity was she didn't even though Prince had done her wrong, she didn't even want to put him out there like that because she wanted to focus on the message of the gospel. So she never even put it out. Somebody grabbed her diary and they put it out. She didn't publish it. She didn't publish it. I think she was going to, but then she stopped. But it's called Don't Blame It on Vanity. And she talks about her life and what she went through, being abused as a young girl, just a horrific childhood. It's bad. Yeah. But my point is that even when you see Denise Matthews out there, when she was like preaching in the 90s and stuff, when she's out there talking on the 700 Club and all that stuff, she was still on drugs then because she overdosed in 97. Like she was still on drugs preaching the word of God. So again, I'm not saying she ended that way. I'm just saying that we are in a prison of a false premise. If we actually took a step back and looked and saw stuff for what it really was, we wouldn't even have the conversation. We wouldn't even argue with people. It's just a false premise, a lie. But anyway, let's continue. No, she died of I want to say kidney failure because her kidneys were damaged way. She got a warning about her kidneys years before it got to the point of no return. And so again, she knew and she could have been saved. The Bible says that God always gives us a way of escape. So she could have easily thwarted that if she had to stop using drugs when she knew she was supposed to. But again, this is how the devil works. The devil deals with illusions. He makes you believe that you can keep getting away with it. That's why as a person, especially as a woman, you have to detest bad behavior because bad behavior gives you a false illusion because you're going to get away with it because you're still under grace. So you might go out there and cut up, but there's grace because God's grace is sufficient. So you're going to have some grace. You don't know who's praying for you. You don't know what's calling on your life. Like you don't know what's going on behind the scenes spiritually. So you may do something and get away with it, but it's simply grace. It's not a pass for you to keep on doing it. And most people take that grace for granted and they keep on going. And next thing you know, your kidney shot. But let's continue. And listen, I love y'all. That's why, talk to y'all the way I do is I love y'all. I want y'all to know the truth. People going to say, man, Blanche, you tripping, all this. They can say whatever they want to say. They can say whatever they want to say about me. But everything I'm saying on these videos is going to come true. Listen, I'm not saying I'm a prophet. I'm not saying none of that. I'm saying I've seen it and I'm telling you what's going to happen. So when I'm telling you something, I'm not just telling you because I feel a certain way. If it was up to me, I wouldn't even have to talk like this. If it was up to me, I could do funny stuff, comedy stuff all day long. If it's up to me, but it ain't up to me. It's not up to me. I can do funny stuff sometimes. Sometimes I gotta get the word out though.
And here it is, the American family of the 1950s, as it was seen thousands of evenings on TV. Happy kids, happy father, happy mother. Everyone behaving as they were supposed to.
You know, it's none of my business, but don't you think taking riding lessons is a pretty expensive way to meet a girl?
The message was absolutely unmistakable. This was the way your life should be. And if it wasn't, something must be very wrong.
Everyone watched Ozzie and Harriet and assumed that everyone they knew lived that life. And then they went around pretending that they lived it too. But no one really did. Even Ozzie and Harriet didn't. So on some level, there's been a myth all along. And part of the plague of the 50s was the incredible personal efforts, the incredible pain involved in perpetuating that myth about one's own family, about one's own happiness in that family, about the health of that family.
They saw women as feeling very discontented. They saw husbands feel pressured, harried by the demands of their jobs and families, and they saw children as feeling extremely alienated. So clearly, I think many of the roots of the 60s explosions were planted in the supposedly placid family of the 1950s.
This boy and girl coming home from school look quite content with life. They're looking forward to an important date, dinner at home with the family.
Though they seem artificial today, educational films like this one, which were shown to school children all over America, accurately reflect the attitudes and values of white middle-class society in the 1950s, when real-life documentaries were few and far between.
Doesn't that sound exciting to you?
Their purpose was to teach kids the proper way to behave and to repeat and reinforce a set of rules.
The rules were things you talked about on the telephone with your friends, and they were imposed by your parents. Parents talked about it a lot. There were high school counselors who told you what the rules were, and even if they weren't written down, everybody really knew, and you could almost read them out, cite them. And I think looking back on it from the 60s, what people did in the 60s was self-consciously break every damn one of them.
Now, I want you to think about how foolish people are. I want you to think about you watching something on television. You watching something that you know is being portrayed by actors and actresses. And then you look at that and say, this is how I should be living. Again, it is a false premise. This is entertainment, meaning we are going to entertain you with what? The perfect family. The reason why you're glued in and tuned into it is because it's the perfect family. That's why you're watching. And then when the 60s came, they changed you all's taste buds. Now you all wanted to go against the grain, wanted to break the rules. Because now you got the Negroes speaking. And they're telling you it's another side of life, that the white side is bad. All these rules are bad. Order is bad. Imagine you rejecting the notion of a perfect family, as if you would have accepted a white family where the father was beating the mother and the mother was on drugs and the children were delinquents. You wouldn't even have watched it. You would have said, get that trash off the TV screen. Get that trash out of my house. This is the irony of all of this. The irony is that you all wouldn't accept a family that wasn't a model family. You wouldn't accept it because back then television was seen as sacred. You couldn't have that smut and filth on television. So there's no way that viewers would have tuned in to see the actual normal family. Every family has its highs and lows, ups and downs, problems. Every family has some level of dysfunction. Yes, but All in the Family came after this era. All in the Family came afterwards. Like I said, All in the Family came after people's taste buds got changed, where they wanted to see that kind of stuff on TV. Now you want to see violence. Now you want to see controversy. But just imagine people rejecting something that wasn't real in the first place. Imagine people rejecting an idea they got from television, from Hollywood. People going against an idea of Hollywood because people weren't going against their normal life. Their normal life was normal. They were rebelling against this imagery that was put out. They weren't rebelling against real life. Their parents worked. These folks don't have horror stories about their families. I guarantee you gather up most of the people that were protesting in the 60s and look at their home life, and their home life was good. So clearly, real life wasn't causing them to rebel. It was they were rebelling against an image from Hollywood that was already built on a false premise. And you're going to see this theme occur throughout history, where everybody is arguing over something that is false from the jump.
The women of this family seem to feel that they owe it to the men of the family to look relaxed, rested, and attractive at dinner time. Brother notices the time and realizes that he must put things in order and clean himself up in time for dinner.
What were the rules? One of them was obey authority. Don't ask questions. In the 60s, millions of young people would renounce that one.
These boys greet their dad as though they are genuinely glad.
Now, I want you to think about what was going on in the average household in the 50s. Just think about the average parent with their children. Weren't most households saying to obey authority? Weren't most parents saying, regardless of race, don't ask questions, just obey? So to say this came from television is insane. Again, people were not rebelling against life and reality. They were rebelling against Hollywood, this image that was put out. Because when them kids went home, they had rules and orders. I remember when I used to come home, from school, I used to have to go put my play clothes on. You would go home like Mr. Rogers, it's such a good feeling to know you're alive. It's such a happy feeling. You're growing inside, and when you wake up, ready to say, I think I'll make a snappy new day. It's such a good feeling. That's when I was coming at home. I had to put my play clothes on like Mr. Rogers to go outside and play. I couldn't even play with my school clothes. Those were so that was something that was done in real life. And I'm talking about the 80s. But my point is, and to say that is that people were rebelling against a false premise. Because where you had gotten to in society was because of your parents. So the fact that you're even able to go outside and tear somebody's business up should let you know that what your parents did was good. It wasn't bad, it was good. It would have been bad. You didn't have the right to do it. You didn't have the right to speak. You didn't have the right to protest. You didn't have the right to march. Then you can say, okay, that was bad. But y'all had all the rights to do everything. Let's continue.
Glad to see him, as though they had really missed being away from him during the day and are anxious to talk to him. This is the time for pleasant discussion in a thoroughly relaxed mood. They don't pick this time of the day to spring unpleasant surprises on Dad.
We are molding our boys the way we feel they should be molded in the 50s. I think you have to start molding right away when they're just infants. And so that was our influence. We tried to make this a very influential time, a constructive time, through Boy Scouts, through church, through Cub Scouts, through Little League, or not Little League, but the little pony leagues or whatever they had, you know, these little kids. It was awfully cute. Yeah, they were fun times with our kids, with our boys. We had a great time.
Let father and mother guide the conversational trend if they desire. After all, they made all this possible.
My impression of that time was that a child was to be seen and not heard, and that we were never allowed to express anything that was negative. We were never...
Again, of course you are not allowed to express anything negative. What do you have negative to express? You are living a stress-free life. All you have to do is go to school. Your only job is to go to school in which you want to go to school because that's your social life. So what are you talking negative about? How dare you? You ain't paying any bills. You have no stress of a job, of taking care of a family. What do you have negative in your life? Nothing. So you know what? You're right. You can't say nothing negative. You're right. It needs to be all cheers. Wipe that frown off your face. Wipe them tears. Because when I was a child, you couldn't be upset. What you upset for? Because the parents are incurring all of the burden. It ain't you. It's the parents. So what do you have to be upset about, ma'am? Nothing. So yeah, wipe your mouth, wipe your nose, wipe your eyes, and go sit down, go play somewhere. Just crazy. Yeah, you shouldn't be heard. Seen and not heard is correct. Close your mouth. Y'all ain't saying nothing. Just for y'all to become adults and tell your child to go sit down, rest, and be quiet. That's the funny thing is, they became adults and told their kids the same thing. Go sit down and be quiet.
Never allowed to talk back in any way, even to question why should I do something or could I do it later. We weren't treated as if we were people. We were another species.
Another rule: control your emotions. In the 60s, masses of baby boomers would reverse this one and, quote, let it all hang out.
Oh, I'm so happy. I could be a model. Or a cover girl.
Hey, what's gotten into that crazy kid's sister?
Oh, Jeff, don't be that way.
Notice how Mother seems to become angry herself because of Jeff's anger. Perhaps she shouldn't, but anger is a violent emotion, and we often see an induction of behavior or spread of emotion to other persons, almost like a contagious disease.
If you misbehaved, you weren't normal. And the idea of normal is a kind of vegetative state where nothing happens. But that's what everybody tried to aspire to. But I think it's a word that people are constantly using to exhort you to behave better. Why don't you be normal? It's not normal to wear your hair long. It's not normal to wear Levi's. It's not normal to listen to rock and roll. It's not normal to read comic books. There's a whole list of a million things that everybody does that isn't normal.
Well, what makes you think they look at your clothes?
Oh, because the other fellas wear sweaters or just shirts, not a regular suit like mine.
Well, wear a sweater then.
Another rule: fit in with the group. Don't stand out. Conform in your actions and your appearance.
The irony the irony of all these rules are literally what these communists want you to do. Imagine you rebelling against something just to end up doing it anyway. Think about it. Imagine you rebelling against an image that Hollywood put out just to in turn do that same thing, just for you to obey it. People think you're not bucking, you're obeying authority. You're just obeying a communist authority, that's all. You know, control your emotions, yeah. Because your emotions may say this is wrong, control them. Then it says fit in with the group. Like all of these things they were rebelling against, they actually ended up doing. And at the end of the day, if these people had actually listened to this stuff, they would have been all right. Of course, you should obey authority. Of course, you should obey authority until authority becomes not authority anymore. But if authority is just authority, then you should obey authority. If it's just governing over you, but once it starts to infringe upon your rights, then of course not. But then to my point, that's not authority. Then that's something else. That's tyranny, ain't it? But everything they're saying, the people actually ended up doing. So you look at today, most people are already conformed into the communist version of all of these things because it's still obey authority. It's still control your emotions. It's because think about it. Think about a person that's like, man, I'm not feeling this whole being a different gender. But they're going to tell you, no, you got to do it. You got to do it for the cause. I'm just saying everything that folks were rebelling against, they do it now anyway.
In the 60s, great numbers of young people would, quote, do their own thing.
Pick out the most popular boys and girls in school and keep an eye on them. Try to figure out why people like them. Not that you'll ever be just like any of them, but you might learn something. Well, see you there.
Many young people found these restrictions painfully repressive, but they struggled to obey them anyhow because if they didn't, they knew there'd be unpleasant consequences from society or from their peers.
Yoo-hoo!
Ginny thinks that she has the key to popularity, parking in cars with the boys at night. When Jerry brags about taking Ginny out, he learns that she dates all the boys. What about Ginny? Does that make her really popular? Do the boys and girls like her? Is she welcome to join this group?
Hi, Betty, Ellie. You can rest your tray here, Ginny, for a minute. Thanks. Say, Wally, how's the play coming along?
Oh, okay, Jenny. Here, Jenny.
No,
Thanks,
girls
Jerry.
who park in cars are not really popular. Not even with the boys they park with. Not when they meet at school or elsewhere.
Nothing like being Miss Popularity. Yeah.
I think that there was this sense that,
Ginny was for the streets. Ginny was for the streets. The man said she dated every guy at the table. Ginny was for the streets. Now think about it. Now, Ginny is the normal girl. Now Ginny is the popular girl that's idolized. Ain't that crazy? The most immoral girl out of the group, the one that people, the image that they so much, said they hated so much, it was so bad, is now the norm. So now we go from Ginny not really being accepted to Ginny being idolized and praised by most women. Because now Ginny would be the chick, oh, I want to be like Ginny. It's just crazy. They got people to rebel against a false premise because nobody's household was like it was on TV. The reason why it was so popular on TV was because it was not like your life. That's why people were watching these shows, because it was like a perfect family on TV, something they didn't have at home.
Sure, they're using sex to be popular now, but you know, what about in the future? They're going to be like thrown on the rubbish pile. And I think that did happen, because I think that boys did maintain an attitude of, you know, they wanted to get laid, but they wanted to marry a virgin.
Jeff, isn't that Eileen?
It sure is, baby and all.
Gee, I haven't seen her since she left school.
And maybe this was the biggest rule of all. Don't even think about having sex. In the 60s, young people all over the country would proclaim, if it feels good, do it.
Sound like Satan, don't it? Think about everything they were talking about in the 60s and how it was just all Satan. Rebel against authority, that means rebel against your parents. That means rebel against God. So when they say rebel against authority, it doesn't just stop at your teachers and law enforcement. It means all authority, even God. Control your emotions. If it feels wrong, control that emotion. Do it anyway. Let it all hang out. Just think about what they were saying about the mindset of kids in the 60s. Everything was Satan.
Mary, wait, please. Sorry, Mary.
In the height of emotion, it's not always easy to stop and think things through. But if you'll just slow down the rush and pressure of your feelings a little, then judgment has a better chance to take hold and guide you away from wrong behavior.
It was sort of a nightmare. Looking from the outside, I'm sure it didn't seem that way to observer, but for me, I felt so lonely. I was popular, and I didn't have those problems. I wasn't a nerd or anything like that.
She's a former hippie.
Yeah, but there just wasn't anybody from my planet, is the way that I kind of described it. I felt like I had so much bottled up inside of me.
What startles me when I look back at my yearbook photos now, they all look so old. Everybody looks so old. I mean, they look like little adults, you know. They don't, it's startling to me how old, how already getting into the groove all of these people look with their flat top crew cuts. And then ever so often, you know, you turn the page and you see the guy with the ducktail. And, you know, here's the rebel.
Being a rebel by slicking your hair back and wearing a black leather jacket seems harmless now. But in the 1950s, many adults saw this as the first sign of teenagers going bad.
Many teenagers are as concerned as their parents with the public's conception of today's youth. These students are portraying what we consider bad taste in school attire and behavior.
Because everybody knows that the way you dress is going to affect the way you behave. So it wasn't that they were just wearing leather jackets and jeans. Leather jackets and jeans was changing their attitude about how they viewed authority, about how they viewed themselves. So it's not just to say they were just clothes. No, the clothes changes the attitude. This is why you are encouraged for women, for example, to dress modest. It's hard to act raunchy, and for a woman, you got a suit on. It don't look right. It doesn't look right. So the rebellion, yes, the rebellion came through the clothes and the hairstyle, because people know if you're willing to do that, then you're willing to misbehave. So yes. Somebody mentioned about Pleasantville. I actually never saw that film. Maybe I should watch it. I know it starts off in black and white, then it ends in color. But yeah, I never saw that film. Quay said glue and baby hair will have you act fast and hot. It's true. Listen, people aren't wearing these clothes for no reason. The clothes is a manifestation of what's on the inside. So they're expressing their behavior by the way they dress. Because the way they dress, they want you to perceive them a certain way. So yeah, the clothes matter. But it's just funny to me that they were actually rebelling against Hollywood, a fake Hollywood image. It was the rebellion was built on a false premise because nobody's family was like that. The reason why the shows were popular because you actually got to see a perfect family. That was the entertainment, that the family was perfect. No different than when black folks rejected the Cosby Show because they said that black people didn't live like that. It's the same thing. Or when black people got the show Amos and Andy canceled because they said it was portraying black folks in a negative light when it was literally the first black show. The majority of people in Amos and Andy, go watch on YouTube. Go watch the Amos and Andy show. The majority of people on the show were black doctors, black lawyers, black businessmen, stock traders. Like literally, it was the first show showing black people in all walks of life being very successful. There was only one person that would be considered, he wasn't really a bum, but he could be considered a bum. He was always scamming and hustling. And that was the main character, Kingfish. But his wife worked, his friend, so it's just crazy how black folks even rejected that show back then. And they rejected the Cosby Show as well, because they said black folks can't live like that. But they love good times. Top Work said they also rebelled against the idea of conservatism and purity. Well, yeah, that's what those shows would think about. That's what those shows were showing though. Those shows were promoting conservative values, purity, not having, think about it. Even on those shows, the mother and father slept in separate beds. Even on those shows, the mother and father slept in separate beds. It's just crazy.
Take a test to rate our level of whiteness because our African American, our black kids were struggling. So we had to take a look at ourselves and do a test of what our measure of whiteness was. And then based on our numerical data from that level of whiteness, we had to stand in a circle. I really just feel like, and I am a woman of integrity, so I took my number and I stood. And I went, wait a minute, I teach remedial math classes. It just was so difficult to be standing in this circle to rate my level of whiteness because my discipline referrals in my lower level math classes, I had a higher percentage of African American black kids. So I was being measured on that I wasn't as effective as a teacher with them because I was white. I was told to decrease the number of detentions that were issued for a certain race that showed up late because culturally it's acceptable for them. And that just, it boggled my brain.
Now imagine everybody, they were rebelling against the 50s and look at the end result. They rebelled against the Hollywood image of the American family and look at the end result. You have a white teacher being asked to rate her whiteness and her whiteness is a 9, which is the whitest you can be, and they're telling her that your class has too many referrals for discipline. In other words, lower the standard for Black children because their culture doesn't have any standards. So it's unfair to hold them to a standard. It's unfair to expect them to obey authority, follow the rules, control their emotions, be seen and not heard. Let's continue.
So I should not.
And if I rate my level of whiteness is about 20. Hers is 9, mine is 20.
Teach them what professionalism is on showing brain. So I should not teach them what professionalism is on showing up on time. We need to teach those core principles on what it means to be a responsible citizen. And DEI didn't do that. It's not doing it. And some of the schools are still holding on to it.
It is an absolute shame to see that this white teacher was made to rate her whiteness and stand in a circle based on that rating. Pseudo-intellectual, pseudo-scientific, Darwin, race-based theory. Bullshit. This is why our young Black people are struggling in schools under the DEI regime. This is why our young Black men are dropping out at an all-time high rate, or they're being passed through the system without actually learning the things they need to learn, the fundamentals they need to learn to be productive in society. This is the problem with the public school system, the education system. This is why President Trump laid down a firm referendum on the Department of Education. This is why funding is being kept from these public schools that want to continue on with this lunacy. These white teachers are...
Y'all are saying that she didn't have to, but put yourself in her shoes. You love teaching, and you know that they'll get you fired. If you don't do it, they're going to call you racist and ruin your life. Listen what I'm telling you all. You all aren't white. Most of you all aren't white, so you don't understand how much pressure it is to be white. It's pressure. Because at any moment's notice, somebody can black you and just say you're racist and you're right, your life is ruined. So she knows if she don't do it, they're going to call her racist. And if a Black person calls you racist, you're going to spend the rest of your life trying to prove that you're not racist. It's an unforgivable sin. And most white folks know this. That's why they try to stay away from it as far as possible. So y'all are saying that she didn't, why did she do it? But I'm saying you asking this woman to be courageous in a moment where she got to lose it all. That's not normal. Most folks aren't courageous in the moment they're about to lose everything, lose their career, lose their pension, lose their livelihood, and lose their public perception. Most folks ain't going to be brave in that moment. Most folks are going to say, you know what, I'm going to play ball. What is she going to do? I understand. It's a lot riding on, especially in education. I done worked in education, man. It's horrible. It's horrible. And it's not horrible because it's horrible. It's horrible because how much leverage they give to students of color. How much leverage they give to parents of students of color. It's horrific. One parent can change how the entire school runs. One parent. One parent come there and complain, and the next day, you can't do this. Tiana said, they did this with the students where I work. They called it a privilege walk. They had those white students stand up in front of the rest of the students and admit or talk about their privilege. Think about it. And if the student, think about the student, he says, I'm not doing it. Think about the brave student that says, I'm not going to do it, and now they get called racist for the rest of their school career. Their parents get called in. The parents are being called racist. The parents gonna say, why didn't you do it? Teacher's gonna call them racist. Think about what happens to a white person that says, I'm not with it. There's no allies showing up. There's nobody showing up saying this is wrong. The people hollering about racism never talk about anti-whiteism. The people hollering about anti-Semitism never talk about anti-whiteism. People talking about transphobia, Islamophobia, homophobia. They never talk about anti-whiteism. So that lets you know that white people don't have a safe place to go to. If they get labeled racist, that's it. How you gonna prove you're not? You're white. So you asking people to be extremely brave for just doing their job. I want to teach, and y'all are telling me that my whiteness is affecting the way I'm teaching. And the moment I say it's not true, you're going to sit me in a room with a bunch of black folks telling me how racist I am. Prudence said, we lost every friend we had by 2021 because we took a stand. Yes, man, most people most people don't want to lose their social group. They don't want to lose their family. They don't want to lose their friends. Most people don't want to do that. I get it. And I'm going to say this. This teacher should not have to be in this position. Because what's happening is you are thrusting people into an unfair game they're unprepared for. It's not fair. It's wrong. You're making her play by some rules that are just made up. Rate your whiteness. I'll rate mine. Mine's at 20.
Being made this is why funding is being kept from these public schools that want to continue on with this lunacy. These white teachers are being made to decrease detentions, to not send kids to detention, to not mark them tardy, because black people are culturally predisposed to be late. What are we teaching our young men? And the problem with it is we don't teach our young men that in sports. See, this is why we need more than ever, maybe more than ever, we need our black men and our black athletes to stand up in America, in the black communities, and demand a standard of excellence. You all want to talk?
How can they have a standard of excellence when the standard is based on a false premise? It's a false premise. It's false. Every man is going through the same thing. He is living out the results of his choices. That's every man. It's not based on race. When you say black men, I know already the whole point's going to get diminished because black men ain't going to do it. They're cowards. They're weak. I got a no excuse challenge happening January the 1st, 2026. For this very reason. You asking these athletes and entertainers to stand up and black men to stand up, how could they? Those men believe that America's racist. It's a false premise. You got to find some black men that are already rejected and don't care. They'll speak. But the average black man, they ain't gonna speak. He believes in the programming too. Top Work said, Blanche, so many of my young coworkers graduated. Blanche, so my young coworker graduated 2 years ago from a hood school, and he said they passing Glocks with clips on it in class. Why is no one alarmed by this? Because it's black kids doing it. The standard's already there. Listen, I saw the writing on the wall in 2020. When Joe Biden got on TV and said, if you don't know who to vote for between me and Donald Trump, then you ain't black, that changed my entire life. That changed my entire life because I was already having reservations about this whole black thing. I was already wrestling with being black anyway. And then when Joe Biden said it, I was like, it just was a light went off. Lightning in a bottle. I said, my goodness. This man just said your blackness hinges upon being obedient to him. Your blackness depends upon being obedient to him. You know what? You can have it. You can have it. And then black folks coming behind him and saying he's right. I was done with black people. I was done. I was done with black people then.
Demand a standard of excellence. You all want to talk about black excellence. It's not black excellence if they let you come to school, do whatever the fuck you want, fail, and then pass you through.
That's Royce White. That was Royce White. But again, it's a false premise because black people don't need special. So the false premise is that black people are behaving this way or in these conditions because of slavery. It's a lie. It's a false premise. So once you start arguing from a false premise, you can't get to the solution. The solution is that slavery has nothing to do with what you're doing right now. Nothing. That's the truth. You're not oppressed. Slavery has no bearing on your life. You're not a victim. America isn't racist. Now let's have a conversation. Now let's have a conversation. So the problem is we operate off a false premise. It's a false premise. Ain't no black excellence. There's just excellence. Ain't no black, it's just excellence. Once you say black excellence, it means it's not excellent because you adding a condition to it. What separates black excellence from white excellence? Asian excellence, Native American excellence, Indian excellence, European excellence, African excellence. What separated excellence? If it's excellent, it's excellent. I'll tell you, it's the false premise. We are arguing a false. It's not true. It's not true.
K-pop is. The Backstreet Boys, one of their biggest hits is My Love Is All I Have to Give. You know who wrote it? It's a Full Force song. If you ever listen to Full Force Essentials on Apple Music, you can tell that's a Full Force ballad. Y'all love embracing Bruno Mars, but when it's time for Asian Pacific Islander Month, Bruno Mars is the face of it on Amazon Prime. Y'all love letting people cosplay like 1970s soul singers who ain't us. You love it when somebody comes over and they got swag and they singing like us and You let Sam Smith sing Stay With Me like he doesn't sound like he's got Tank in his throat. Pause. Little Richard told you, I took the Beatles on the road with me. I took the Rolling Stones on the road with me. I'm the architect of this. And y'all called him gay and crazy, but he was right. Y'all let him call Michael Jackson everything but a child of God. Y'all grind up R. Kelly, but y'all let Elvis mess around with 14-year-old Priscilla. And you let Jerry Lee Lewis mess around with his 13-year-old cousin. You're selective in your outrage, and you're not that selective in your gatekeeping.
Again, false premise. False premise. And the false premise is that black people own a genre of music. You have black people that were artists that were musicians. That wasn't the collective of black people. How are you going to gatekeep something where you don't control the gate? You didn't build the gate. These Jewish music executives, these white music executives, they're the ones that allowed you all to be known around the world. It wasn't you all. Sam Cooke tried to get y'all to have an all-black record. Y'all didn't want it. Then Berry Gordy came along. Now, let me ask y'all a question about these so-called black artists. As great as these black artists were, who did they bring up behind them? The Beatles, the Rolling Stones, they give Little Richard credit. Y'all don't give him credit, but they do. All the rock and roll pioneers give Little Richard credit. There are like 5 songs accredited to starting rock and roll. And any musical historian knows, and they know that any famous rock and roll band, singer, they all pay homage to these pioneers of rock and roll. The white folks give them credit. Y'all don't give them credit. Black folks don't. But how are black folks going to gatekeep something they don't control? How many? Remember when in the New Edition movie, New Edition came off a tour and they got a check for like $1.75. Remember that in the movie? They got a check for $1.75. And when Michael Bivins had his record company, he did the same thing they did to him. The same thing Prince was crying about, he did to his artists. My point is that the reason why black folks have this disposition is because they're not honorable. Black people are planting bad seeds, and those seeds are reaping a harvest. When Jerry Lee Lewis messing with his cousin, it was a scandal at the time. It was a scandal. Chuck Berry got in trouble for doing it, messing with underage girls. Elvis Presley, he didn't. But that wasn't the norm. It wasn't the norm for a high-profile person to marry somebody 14 years old. That wasn't the norm. It wasn't. So again, black people collectively don't control a music genre. You have black folks that were talented and they did it. I can't take credit for what Little Richard did. Ain't no we with Little Richard. Ain't no we with Fats Domino. Ain't no we with Howlin' Wolf. Ain't no we with Miles Davis, Charlie Parker. Like, what are we talking about? That's not a we, that's them. Just like white people can't say we. TLC, signed by Babyface. They were the number one at one point in time. TLC was the number one female selling group of all time. And they said they were making $30,000 a year. And you know who was their boss? A black man. Black L.A. Reid and Babyface, black men wasn't paying their artists. It's a false premise. You see, the reason why y'all are so offended is because you think that black people aren't doing what everybody else is doing. But in actuality, if I reveal the tape, you're going to see that black people are doing everything everybody else is doing. There was no separation in behavior. I venture to say it was worse. Hold on, you said Elvis Presley was Jewish? Hold on. I gotta look that up. Hold on, let me look that up real quick. You said he was Jewish. Let me see if he was Jewish. Let me see. Elvis Presley was considered Jewish according to Jewish law, which determines lineage through the mother. His maternal great-great-grandmother, Nancy Burdine, was Jewish and immigrated from what is now Lithuania. While he was raised in the Assembly of God Church, Presley remained connected to his Jewish heritage throughout his life in various ways. Wow. In 1964, Presley designed and placed a headstone with a Star of David on his mother, Gladys Presley's grave to honor her Jewish roots. Wow, I never knew. He was Jewish. As a teenager in Memphis, he lived below an Orthodox rabbi and his family. He performed tasks for them on the Sabbath, such as turning lights on and off and for free. Wow. I never knew that. Wow. He gave generously to Jewish organizations throughout his life, including the Memphis Jewish Community Center and the Memphis Hebrew Academy. Wow. They even say that Elvis Presley was Jewish the old-fashioned way through maternal descent, while Marilyn Monroe, Elizabeth Taylor, and Sammy Davis Jr. all converted. Wow. I want to look into that. Wow. I mean, I like Elvis too, though. But back to I think this guy's called The Business Bully, I think. Yeah, it's a false premise though. And the premise is that black people can control a whole genre of music, and they can't. Especially when now you have more white artists that actually pay homage to black musicians. You have more white soul singers. You have more white jazz musicians. Like, you have more white artists paying homage to black music than black people. It's crazy. I don't even know what to even think about that. I don't even think about him being like, it's just, you never think about Elvis Presley being Jewish. That's crazy. But he was. That's crazy. And they say he was Jewish the old-fashioned way.
Light skinned you are, the better you are, more hair. This is my normal skin tone. I had to evolve to this, and I want more. Because the more light I am, the more beautiful I am.
Habiba is a self-described slay queen, infamous for dating senior politicians. Habiba says she now recruits consenting young women for rich men and uses social media to promote herself.
Thank you so much for tuning in, Bona.
On her own podcast.
If I both take them and present them to men, they will give her small money, they will give her more money. So she dreams to be like her. Her dream is to be more like her.
So you would like to be like her?
Yes, like life is at the top. Yeah, the light skinned you are, the better you are, more hair, and she can express herself better in English, and she's exposed to the city life.
Listen, I'm sorry, y'all. Why can't these African girls grow any hair? Why are they always bald-headed? Can somebody tell me that? I'm sorry. Can somebody tell me why are all the African women bald-headed? You're going to say Blanche, not all, most, 99%. Not all, 99%. Why are 99% of African women bald-headed? Why? Please, can somebody tell me? Anybody know? Please, can I get some? Can somebody tell me something? Ladies, why don't these women's hair grow? Please, ladies. I know I'm serious. Because they always bald-headed. Is it climate? Like, what's making their hair not grow? I just think about all the African women that y'all know in your life and tell me how many of them actually have hair longer than an inch or two. Okay, now, okay, Miss Graves, that might make sense. Okay, when they're in school. Now I know in school they want them all to look the same in school, so they shave all their hairs off, boys and girls. I get that. We're talking about adults, though. I understand the children. I'm talking about the grown women that are adults. Paul said they got bugs in their head. Okay, Miss Graves, I get it, but they put long weave in their hair, though. See, it'd be different. Listen, it would be different if they didn't put the weave in their hair, but they put, so they want the long hair. My question is, why don't it ever grow? Anthony said wig glue. I don't know. Quay said the Ethiopians. Now, Quay, you know that the Ethiopians and the Eritreans and come on now, Quay, you know that that's not what I'm talking about. Quay, you know I ain't talking about the Ethiopians and the Eritreans and the Somalians. You know I ain't talking about them. You know who I'm talking about. You know who I'm talking about. I ain't talking about them. So you know I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the, that's what I'm talking about. But let's continue.
She's original from the village, but she managed to adopt to city life. And this one is like hardcore village township girl. The reality is that the lighter you are, the more beautiful you are, the more value you get, unfortunately.
Skin bleaching is extremely dangerous.
So you had bleached your skin because you believed it would give you greater value and a greater chance
More
of making money.
opportunities, and it did.
But don't you think that?
Why y'all do this to me, man? Why when I say something, y'all act like I'm talking crazy? Women of Chad. Women of Chad here. Women of Chad hair, long and strong. These women of Chad ain't who I'm. Well, y'all gotta listen. Y'all know good and well what I'm talking about. The fact that you gotta tell me a country lets you know it ain't the norm. Y'all know what Chad? No. Y'all playing with me. Y'all are playing. Y'all know good and well what I'm talking about. And y'all know good and well what the majority is. That ain't Chad ain't the majority. Chad O. Jackson ain't the majority. Let's continue.
That's incredibly sad and harmful, and a harmful example.
What can we do? Because even social media will display women who are more light-skinned as if they're more beautiful. Women who can present themselves well, they're more beautiful. If I'm not wearing this high heel and this nice dress, I will look ghetto and I will get less money. I will attract a different audience.
Just talking about prostitution. Y'all told me they was queens and all that.
To the city.
She talking about prostitution. She done bleached her skin. She done bleached her skin. This the motherland, though. This the motherland. This the motherland. Adina King. Thank you, Adina King. Thank you. Somebody said something that I can. It's harder for coarse hair to grow through the scalp. That makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. I can probably go with that. That makes sense. That the hair is so coarse, it's just fighting to get through the scalp. The hair just and by the time one hair follicle fights through and pops up, it's been about 6-7 years. It makes sense. And then once it gets through the top, you're 25 years old. Once you get through the top of the scalp, you're 25. Then once another one come out, you're 30. Let's continue. Y'all say nothing that nappy. Nah, I think it might be due to genetics and climate. I think it might be that. I don't know. I would have to look at to see if girls that were born here when their parents are from Africa, born here, does the hair grow longer here? It was just a question, though. I love my African queens. It was just a question. I love my queens, though. I do.
Law enforcement, the police, they have no jurisdiction over an indigenous American man or woman. But I'm specifically want to speak on the men because a lot of our men are in their jail systems, right? When that system was not created for us. The jail system was created for fucking foreigners, right? So quit calling yourself African American because, bitch, you ain't even from Africa. You from right here. So claim you're American Indian. And every time they go against these treaties, we are supposed to sue them. That's what a lot of people don't know. We are actually supposed to go and sue these motherfuckers. They don't have no jurisdiction over us. If anybody commits a crime, they're supposed to get sent back to their tribe, to their people, to their nation. That's why it's important to do your genealogy and to realize what tribe do you come from? What nation are you from? Because they like this shit is treasonous, blasphemy, and it has to stop, right? Because these people who are working for the law enforcement, they're mongoloids. They have hair like a damn dog. And if they look black, they're Africans, right? It's not our true indigenous people who are working for the law enforcement. And little do y'all know, the indigenous American man, the number one nigga they locking up, the number one person they're locking up, right, are the true law enforcement. Y'all are the true police. All this shit that they have, politicians, all that. It was our shit originally, and they inverted it and made it some shit to go against us and to help take our land. So the only reason we can regain our land back, regain our sovereignty back, right, and protect our babies, protect our family, protect our men, protect our children is by reading these treaties, knowing who we are. And we have to do this as a collective. I can't do it by myself. I can know all this shit all I want by myself, but it doesn't mean shit. You have to go, it's on a government website because the government is supposed to be applying by this, but they don't. Arches.gov, read the American Indian treaties, bro. They're breaking every single treaty against the true indigenous, against the true American Indians. I'm coming at y'all with solutions, right? We have a lot of niggas don't want to read, right? And if y'all are,
so dear Moorish community, Hebrew Israelites, Native American black people, the Anunnakis, the Nephilim black people, the alien black people, the gods. Listen, you all are going to have a tough time with your messaging because black people don't read. So I don't know how you're going to get them to follow this. They're not going to read it. So how you going to get them to do it? So maybe y'all should come up with an app, where they can just put their name in it and get it. You do it for them, or I don't know, but they're not going to read it. So I don't know how you're going to do it. How are you going to get people to listen to this rhetoric if they don't read? They don't care. So this is what I'm saying. So black culture says education is not important. Knowing how things work is not important. Understanding systems not important. Black culture promotes being black. So I don't know what y'all gonna do.
reading, y'all reading for entertainment purposes, like, oh, the Anunnakis coming in, they're doing this, and oh, look at the aliens over here, and oh, all that shit is a fucking distraction. Like, this shit does not matter. What matters is you knowing who the fuck you are. Do your genealogy. Figure out what tribe you are. Figure out who the fuck you are. Are you African? Are you American? Where are you? Who are you? Figure out who you are, right? Connect, because this is all a part of self-love. And then, if you indigenous, go read them American Indian treaties. right? And we need to start putting our foot on their neck. And then when they going against us, they going against these treaties, we need to sue them. See, why are Black American lawyers not helping us? Because once they go...
Why is he so stupid in this video? Why he just dumb and just nodding his head like a dummy? What is the purpose of him in this video? Just to be in the way. He's just in the way, showing off that little dumb Von Dutch hat and just it's in the way looking stupid. Typical Black man, just in the way, looking dumb. Nothing to say.
And become a lawyer, they make an oath to the bar. They're all making oaths to keep us from disconnecting back to our land and regaining our land. We have to make them apply the treaties. They're not.
Imagine Black people being so narcissistic to where they believe that the entire system is created to go against them. Think about what I'm saying. Black people believe that the entire system is designed to specifically go against them. So that means a person is trying to become a lawyer to oppress Black people. A person is trying to become a police officer to oppress Black people. A person is trying to become a judge to oppress Black people. A person is running for Congress or Senate to oppress Black people. A person is running for president to oppress. Think about Black people believe that people are dedicating years of their life, blood, sweat, and tears to oppress them. It's this. Black people are the most narcissistic people on the planet. You know, it's a real close between them and the Jews and the Hebrew Israelites. Them is the three, but I'm gonna say Black the Bliggities. The Bliggities number one. Lobby for Cash said Edomites are descendants of the ancient kingdom of Edom. This kingdom flourished between the 13th and 18th century. 13th and 8th century BC in the southern area of modern day Jordan. Kathy said, no offense, but whites are not even thinking about Black people. Kathy, you ain't got to say no offense. Leave it at this. White people ain't thinking about Black people, period. We are just trying to get through the day, get home from work, cook dinner, and watch some YouTube. Kathy, I know y'all are. Y'all ain't. There is no way that you got to live your life and somehow find time to think about some Black folks that ain't doing nothing. It would be different if Black people were building kingdoms around your neighborhood. It would be different if Black people were taking over everything. But to be concerned about some Black folks who ain't going to do nothing is quite insane. It's quite insane. So yes, Kathy, we know that white people ain't thinking about Black people at all. At all. LARPing for Cash said the Edomites spoke a Semitic language said to be closely related to Hebrew. Listen, I just did a video on Noah, and yeah, all the people, I won't get into it, but God said in the flood that everything that could breathe air was destroyed, was killed. Everything that had breath died. So that means that all humanity comes from Noah, his wife, his 3 sons, and their wife. They all got the same genes, related. Now, the genes may be different from the wives, but the sons got it. The sons got the same DNA. Let's continue.
Who turned his master into a scarecrow. This happened in 1861 in the state of Arkansas. In 1861, Jefferson County, Arkansas became the site of one of the most inexplicable and terrifying episodes in American dark history. Known only through the private writings of a vanished minister, the real story of the slave who turned his master into a scarecrow defies classification. At the center of his world is Elijah, a grieving carpenter whose silent rebellion escalated into a campaign of symbolic executions, acts that turned men into effigies and fields into graves. The case was never officially solved. The official records were either destroyed or never kept, but the diary of Reverend Alistair Finch, found sealed beneath the floorboards of a derelict church, offers a detailed, harrowing account. This is Black AF History, the Unwhitewashed Story of America by Michael Harriot. It is an amazing book that contains the stories of our ancestors that they don't teach in the history books. Grab you a copy now. This figure, born of soil, grief, and unexplicable justice, became a living sermon, delivering judgment in a forgotten dialect of vines, roots, and silence. Elijah had worked those fields for years. So many long, cold winters and hot summers. He toiled on the fields without any pay. The overseer constantly snickering at him, abusing him, beating him, doing whatever he could to humiliate him and degrade him. This was Elijah's turn to get the revenge he deserved.
Man, this book is so fake. Have you ever seen this book is so fake. It just made up somebody, shows some images, and black folks gonna eat it up. But it's a lie. The notion that somebody is going to beat something that has to work, it doesn't make any sense. If you beat, it's just dumb. It's just dumb. It's just the dumbest. That's why they show you the same pictures of people getting whipped. It's always the same pictures. Let me see. What should I play? Because Chad had a. Let me.
No, but you could see it. See how she was praying and leaning over, screaming.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
You're all right, boo-boo.
So this is her belly and her legs. This is her legs, y'all. And this is the belly.
This is her belly. And she like she's leaning over backwards.
Oh my God.
Actually, it looked like somebody was
holding her, yeah.
It looked like she was choking, she was over there.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be that white lady who she caught with her husband. That road, they say not supposed to.
Oh my gosh. Because when I'm driving on 95 and I see trees and I love nature and I'm pulled by it, and I see figures and images in trees, and I know what I'm seeing is connecting me to the spirit realm. Yeah. Oh my gosh. You can literally...
You can see it.
Part of me thinks, like, the more you expose black people to, the worse they get. And I'm starting to believe that, because the Bible says that to whom much is given, that much more is required. And I feel like black people are given a lot of physical gifts, but the requirement for the character is so... It's almost like it has a negative effect to where you're blessed in this area, but because you don't have any character, it's a curse. Listen to what they say. Just listen. It's
going on now, but you can see it. See how she was praying and leaning over, screaming.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
You're all right, boo-boo.
So this is her belly and her legs. This is her legs, y'all. And this is the belly.
This is her belly. And she's like she's leaning over backwards.
Oh my God.
Actually, it looked like somebody was
Holding her,
It
yeah.
looked like she was choking. She was over there.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be that white lady who she caught with the husband. That word they say not supposed to.
Oh my gosh. Cause when I'm driving on 95 and I see trees and I love nature and I'm pulled by it, and I see figures and images in trees, and I know what I'm seeing is connecting me to the spirit realm. Yeah. Oh my gosh, you can literally
can see it.
Can somebody tell me what is the false premise behind what they are saying? The false premise is that this is only for black people. The false premise, let's just say this is true. What they're saying is only the trees only reflect black people, nobody else. Now keep in mind it's just a tree. In the roots, in the trunk of the tree is spread out, but the false premise is just black people. This happens to. It's just black people. The trees only mimic what happened to black people, not white people, not Native Americans, anybody else, just black people.
look at her kneecaps. Oh my gosh.
And it's crazy because black people have the luxury of living like this, just living with magical thinking. Paul, hold on, I got some questions on here before I go. Paul said, I saw it. Paul said, in reference to the video with the guy keeping the diary, I thought they couldn't read or write. So how did this slave keep a diary? Now, keep in mind, now, what Paul said is an excellent observation. I want you to think about something. Now, you know, during the daytime, he couldn't write because he had to work. So at nighttime, he would have to use a lamp to write. So that means Massa would look at the slave quarters and see somebody with a lamp on and get up out the bed, go down there and say, what y'all doing down here? You better not be writing or reading. So we know it's cap. Either the slaves could read and write or they couldn't. But again, my point is that it's a false premise. We are arguing and having a conversation from something that isn't true. Clearly, there are slaves that could read and write. Clearly. But the premise, the false premise is the slaves couldn't read and write. They didn't have any money. They got beat every day. It's all cap. Even the notion of a breeding farm. Like, how you gonna have a breeding farm when a woman has to carry a child for 9 months? Like, it doesn't even make any sense. You got women getting pregnant, but they got to be pregnant. They got to take care of the child. And then when they deliver the child, it's going to take at least how many years before the child can go out there and work in the field. So what they did was they showed you some propaganda. They put a little cotton satchel on a little baby and put some cotton in his hands, and the little baby's picking cotton, but they wasn't. Them little babies was not picking cotton. Somebody made that picture up as propaganda even back during slavery. Even back during slavery. It was all cap, propaganda. Thank you, Paul. Cruise Missile, thank you so much for the super sticker. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Always support. Anthony Labrakiak, thank you so much for the super sticker. Mr. Labrakiak again, thank you so much for the super sticker. Finished Goods Willie. The past slaves who were called Nikas and lazy weren't but that term is fitting for today's so-called blacks. I'm gonna be honest with you. Can I be honest with y'all real quick? Hold on, let me go to thank you, Mr. Towns. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna say this, right? I want you to think about all of the propaganda that is against other races of people during that time period. So, for example, they never said that Native Americans were lazy. They might have said they were savages, but not lazy. But if you think about what Native Americans were doing, them being described as savage could have fit, if we talk about it in context. Or we talk about the Asians back then. They put them to work on the railroad. Like, think about what were they saying about even the Irish, the Polish, the type people that came over. Like, what were the negative tropes about these people? None of them had the term lazy. They never depict black people as hard work. Why is that? Why? How is it that, think about it, if black people as slaves were working that hard, you couldn't sell the false narrative of them being lazy? Like, think about it. Like, the reason why that stuff was considered funny back then is because it was true. That's how comedy works. You only laugh because it's true. Paul said they were different, but not lazy. I don't know. I mean, I gotta really listen to the perspective of an actual slave owner and see what they said about the slaves. Because out of all the things to say about black people being slaves, they pick lazy. I'm just saying, they pick lazy. They could have picked a lot of other negative things to say, but they picked lazy. And then they would draw pictures of eating watermelon and chill. I don't know, man. I really want to see what these owners had to say about these slaves. No, so again, you're talking about, and this person made up a great point. So 100 towns built after slavery that was lazy. I don't believe that the slaves built them towns. Those were already free black people. You got to think about it. The most industrious people were the ones that were working to buy their freedom. So those towns were probably built by the folks that bought their freedom. Like, I'm not saying they were lazy. I'm saying to give a negative trope of being lazy to a whole group of people accept it. I don't know, man. It seems like it's something to that. I don't know. It's something to that. I think. I don't know. I want to hear it. But as far as those towns being built, you know, and I know there were slaves that bought their freedom and left the plantation. There were slaves that ran away. So we know that there were different types of people that were slaves. There were the slaves that were content. There were slaves that were didn't want to go in the house. They didn't want to stand. Like, it was all types of slaves. So it wasn't just this uniform slave. There were slaves that were ambitious. There were slaves that had different skills. Like this slave, he was a wizard with the livestock. This one did well with the crop. This one could build. Like, so it was slaves with all kind of things. So again, I don't think that every slave thought the same. I don't. Oh yeah, you can make a Discord fan club. I don't really know what that is, but you can make it. Yeah. Let folks hear this. Attend Hampton University but start Tuskegee. How was that possible if racism was so bad? Makes one question their narratives. I mean, it does, because again, and like I'm saying, I think for them to say that slavery was as brutal as it was, I don't understand how you could even fly with the notion of them being lazy, though. Like, to me, for that to even be a thing, it doesn't make any sense. Like Native Americans being called savage in context makes sense because they were scalping. They were like, it makes sense in context. But the lazy thing, I'm like, why would they pick lazy? Okay, thank you, Justice, for help. Thank you so much. Thank you. But you know, why would they pick lazy? I don't know. I don't know. I question a lot. I question a lot about, you know, what we've been told. And my conclusion, Black people built most of the railroads on the East Coast. Again, you are talking about Black people, and you are talking about Black people that was willing to obviously work. The railroads weren't just built by Black people. There were white people working on the railroad. There were Black people. There were Native Americans. There were Asians. Everybody worked on the railroads. So again, this notion that Black folk was the only ones working is a false premise. Today's title, The Prison of the False Premise. Everybody worked on the railroad. Everybody was picking cotton. These are industries. It wasn't just Black people. That's propaganda. It's propaganda. So again, I never said that Black people as a whole were lazy. I said that to use that trope against slaves is telling, because they were the only group that got that narrative, and they were the actual slaves. The Irish were slaves, right? The Polish were slaves. The whites were slaves. They weren't called lazy, though. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But again, I may do a part 2. I think I will do a part 2. But today's title again is The Prison of the False Premise. And so what the devil has us doing is the devil has us arguing over a false premise, something that's not true. If you take a step back and look at what everybody is arguing about, whether it be politics, social issues, dating, it's a false premise. For example, before I go, for example, think about the notion that the welfare state or the government destroyed the Black family because the government incentivized Black women to put the men out of the house. That is a false premise. So from that false premise, you start a whole narrative that's false. It's false. The reason why Black folks have such poor marriage rates is because of their culture. They adopted communism. That's why they don't care about marriage. It's not because of the welfare state no, it's because of socialism. It's because of ideologies. You built a culture off of that stuff. You built a culture off of socialism and Marxism and communism. That's why you're not getting married. It wasn't the government. The government can't make a man leave his house. The government can't make you sell crack in your neighborhood. That's what you want to do. So that's a false premise that the government put drugs in the neighborhood. That's a false premise. If the government put drugs in the neighborhood, then they would have bought the drugs for free. They got drugs for free, but they had to go buy the dope. So you got to go buy the drugs. Then how did the government put it in the hood? If you have to go purchase drugs, then how did the government put the drugs in the hood? No, you bought the drugs into the hood because you paid for it. So again, these are false premises. So we're arguing from a false premise. So when you bring up these discussions, it's already a flawed discussion because the premise was false. So if we say, you know what, Black men brought drugs into the Black community, different conversation. Black culture, Black people adopting communism over God's word destroyed the family, different conversation. But when you have the conversation on the false premise, you just keep spinning the wheels. Just keep spinning the wheels. That was the white people as far as in like the the entertainment segments, you know, where like they would portray slaves as being lazy. Like it was always portrayed as being lazy. I'm 28 years old, and I know more about Black American history more than anybody in this chat. There's no such thing as Black American history. Black American history is nothing but propaganda, programming, and entertainment. That's all. It's not real. Black history is not real. It's propaganda. And I'm going to end on that note. Listen, I love y'all.